This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast with Mike Canet and Ryan Herbert of ProStatus Financial. Mike is a financial planner and estate planning attorney with a master's degree in taxation and 4-time Amazon best-selling author. Ryan is an 11-time 5-star Wealth Management Award winner and top-ranked financial advisor by Forbes. For decades, the ProStatus Financial team has been helping families build successful retirements and lasting legacies. Now, the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Investor podcast. So glad that you're joining us. My name is Michael, along with, of course, Mike Canet.
Yes.
But we have a special guest here today, and this is the behind-the-scenes guy. This guy is the kind of the brains, the backbone of the radio show and the
Brett,
podcast.
Yes.
Brett Barney. And Mike, you do such incredible things that Brett always has great ideas for this. So I'm going to turn it over to him. He's got a special treat, not only for you, but for our listeners today. So Brett, you give him your great idea here.
So, Mike, you meet with all these celebrities, you interview them, you travel the world and get to see them and sit down and interview them one-on-one for the radio show and the podcast. And there's one question that you always ask everyone. What is it?
You can't see my belly, but it's what's for dinner. It is what's for dinner.
Well, I thought a great idea would be we take all of these celebrity interviews that you've done this past year or two and turn it into this kind of celebrity feast for the holidays where they can discuss with you what's for dinner.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, it's credible when I'm interviewing these guys, so often they're talking about just money and their experiences on the stage and all that type of stuff. But when you talk to them and you just ask them, what was your favorite meal? What did grandma cook for you? I mean, you just see their eyes light up and you can just see the emotion because, first of all, nobody ever talks to them about that.
Right.
But second, it's just, it almost brings chills to you when you look at how those memories come flooding back and they get little tears in their eyes thinking about what grandma used to make for Sunday dinner. It's just an incredible experience watching them.
But this is also special for you, and the reason Brett came up with this idea is because you are I
love to cook.
A sous chef.
Yeah,
you love to cook, so that's your passion, and you're bringing it to them, to these celebrities, and we're also learning a lot more about them than your typical interview.
Well, I think you get so much more depth from it when you start the conversation out with tell me about your fondest memories about what it was you were eating growing up. What was that meal? If mom was here or grandma was here that could cook you that meal that you missed so much, what is it? And then they start going into the details of some of them talk about the collard greens and the mashed potatoes and gravies. And it's just amazing the little stories that come flooding out of them and the memories that come flooding forward when they're talking about it. It's just a great experience. And the rest of it, it's all good to hear about, what a great football player they were or a baseball player, whatever it happens to be, all that's really cool. But people see that stuff all the time. They hear about that stuff all the time. But to get that connection with them about, what it was like growing up in their household when they were a kid. And I think everybody has a fond memory of sitting around the dinner table with mom and dad or grandparents. I mean, maybe it was a holiday. Maybe it was just, for my family growing up when we were raising our kids, Wednesday night, my father came out every Wednesday night for dinner. Every night we had dinner together as a family. We don't always have breakfast together. Obviously the kids at school, we didn't have lunch together. But that dinner, that is so important. And those memories that my kids have and watching these people that I interview talk about it, it's just a fantastic experience for me, let alone them.
All right, so let's play the Celebrity Feast special podcast. And then afterwards, I want to hear from you, Mike Canet, what was your most memorable interview and the answer that you got about that food. And also from Brett, our producer, because he's the guy that put all this together. I mean, he was the brainchild of all this. I want to hear what moved him to get to do this.
Welcome to the Celebrity Feast with Mike Canet, powered by ProStatus Financial.
Welcome to the Savvy Investor. I am sitting here with Jason Aldean. So on the menu, right? Because growing up, mom and dad, the family cooking for you, right?
Yeah, my mom was still is a great Southern cook. So, I grew up on everything fried and, the meat and three. I'm a meat and three kind of guy. So,
right.
Yeah.
3 starches.
Yeah, usually.
So were you able to incorporate anything from mom's repertoire on the menus?
Yeah, so at the bar that we have downtown on Broadway, that one, is really kind of focused on the Southern food style. Some of my mom's recipes are on the menu, peach cobbler recipes on there, some of those kind of things. So it was really cool for her being able to kind of be involved in that a little bit. And my grandmother was the one that taught her how to cook, and so it was kind of just passing it down a little bit. So it was a cool way to sort of honor her and have her be a part of it.
Heisman Trophy winner Eddie George.
Mom was simple. It was hot dogs and pork and beans.
That man, but there's the fine things in life, man. It's the fine
That
things
was
in life.
very simple, yeah. We didn't have much, but when she made those hot dogs and pork and beans, I tasted all the love, hard work, sweat, and desire in it, for sure.
I am sitting here with, I guess, probably one of the biggest and most famous baseball players, certainly of our generation, Mr. Tom Glavine here, Hall of Famer. We're in St. Andrews, and welcome to the Savvy Investor on a remote session here. Thinking about those days when, you're growing up with mom and dad and grandma coming, what was that Sunday dinner like? What was that meal that you missed the most that you had?
Ooh, man. Probably two, I think. My mom was a good cook. She made a phenomenal veal cutlet. I missed that one a little bit. And then the simple one. A lot of times that Sunday dinner was just a roast beef with roasted potatoes and carrots out of the oven, a little bit of gravy, and it was a good day. And I'll tell you what, as a kid, you go out all day Sunday and a cold winter day and play street hockey all day, and you come home and that meal's waiting for you when you come in the house. It's like, this is a pretty good day.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Warren Moon.
Well, I still have it, and I just had it before I got on the airplane to come back home from Atlanta. We had a baked chicken, we had fried chicken, we had greens, we had macaroni and cheese, we had sweet potatoes, we had banana pudding. I mean, it's just one of those good old-fashioned, down-home comfort meals that you just like to have on your stomach. You probably shouldn't be eating that, especially at my age right now, but you can't turn it down.
You look like you could still play. All right, so when they make the fried chicken, cast iron pan, what are they frying it in?
Cast iron.
Gotta be cast iron,
have
right?
cast
Absolutely,
iron, yeah.
absolutely.
And lots of seasoning.
It's great to have the incredible Oscar De La Hoya on the Savvy Investor Radio, probably one of the most prolific, successful boxers of all time. Obviously fond memories of mom, inspirations for mom. If she was here today to cook you dinner, what would it be? What do you miss about her cooking?
Wow, yeah. Chilaquiles were the favorite. Yeah.
What is that? I don't even know.
So chilaquiles, it's basically, let's say you stack up about maybe 8 corn tortillas, and you dice them up into little squares, right? And then you fry them in the pan, and then you throw some eggs, maybe 3-4 eggs, and you scramble it all. Then you dice up the little chilies and onions. You dice up the tomatoes, and you throw it all in there. It's nice and beautiful and colorful. Then she makes this like green, homemade hot sauce.
Okay.
So you put it on a plate, put the little hot sauce on top, and you enjoy it.
Fond memories.
Amazing.
Sitting here with Greg Maddox, Hall of Famer. Going back in your mind's eye, back when you were growing up in high school, having Sunday dinner, mom and dad or grandparents around. What was that meal like? What'd you have? What was your favorite meal that you missed?
Well, it was home cooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was usually fried chicken and mashed potatoes.
Yeah?
We had a lot of that. A lot of meatloaf.
Yeah?
A lot of hamburger helper.
I remember hamburger helper days. Yeah.
So,
cold meatloaf sandwiches?
Yeah.
For after lunch? Yeah. Lunch for the next day?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something special in that, the recipe for Grandma's fried chicken? Anything in there? Anything special you can remember about it?
Well, you just got to batter it up and fry it.
Batter it up and fry it.
Make sure you put enough salt on it.
Yeah, everything fried.
I think that was the key, and don't skimp on the butter when you're making the mashed potatoes.
Absolutely. Warren Sapp, welcome to the Savvy Investor Radio. So one of the things we always ask on the show, mom and dad were always such influences for most of the players we interview. And so the home-cooked meal that you miss the most, the home-cooked meal that mom or your grandmother or your father or somebody made for you growing up, what was it?
Chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice?
I just had rabbit and rice before I came over here. I found a whole rabbit, and my mom cooked and fried it and put it in a stew for me today. So it's either chicken and rice or rabbit and rice for me, because I'm just a country boy. So
country boy.
I'm a country boy. Give me some chicken or some wild chicken. That rabbit tastes like wild chicken, so it's all good. That's me. We
were playing golf this morning, and they were talking about the rabbits out on the course, and that's what we said.
Yeah.
Tastes like
rabbit stew.
Tastes just like chicken. Tastes just like chicken.
I had a whole one today, baby. I'll show you a picture of it. I took a picture of that thing. I might put it on the internet today, right?
There you go. Social media, right?
Oh, yeah. I got to let them know what mom do. Mom put that rabbit stew together, boy. You want to lick the pot. Trust me.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Chris Carter.
Oh, man, my mom can fry some chicken, man.
Yeah?
Fry some chicken on a Sunday, and let's watch the Cowboys play.
The Cowboys.
Yeah, let's get just a little bit of hot sauce.
Right.
I mean, ain't enough room in the kitchen or living room for the whole family, so we're eating in the kitchen, on the floor. Yeah, my mom could cook. My sisters can cook. We got to have some dessert. So she used to make this unbelievable caramel cake, like a white cake with caramel icing. Oh, man, 3 layers.
Yeah.
She got that from her mama.
Right.
Oh, in Troy, Ohio. Yeah, we're getting it done today. I need a cup of sweet tea, too, to go with it.
I am joined today on The Savvy Investor by probably one of the most feared sluggers in all of baseball history, Darryl Strawberry. Welcome to The Savvy Investor Radio.
Well, thanks for having me.
Recognizing Mom has passed, that meal that you miss that Mom or Grandma used to cook for you, if she was here today, what would you be asking her to make for you?
Oh, my mom used to make the home enchiladas.
Enchiladas?
The best. Yeah. Mom, she taught my sister how to make them. She made them, too. And they were the best.
Interesting.
One of my favorite. Well, you grew up in California. You love Mexican food.
Well, there is that.
You know,
there is that.
Yeah, of course, you love the good soul food, yams and greens and all those things. But yeah, the Mexican is really big. You know, here in Texas, I guess all my exes in Texas.
Yeah, something like that.
But
all right, so enchiladas. And did you manage to capture the recipe before Mom passed?
No, I didn't. I should have been paying attention.
Right.
You know, most of the time we don't pay attention. You just know when the meal comes to the table, it's good, and
You can smell
then you
it
have
in
some
the
more.
kitchen. Yes. Second helping.
Bill Murray and the Murray Brothers.
You know, it's all about family in my practice, and clearly you guys are a tight-knit group of brothers and stuff. And for most families, the kitchen is like where everything starts. Is that where you guys came from, the kitchen? Or, I mean, because you have a restaurant. How'd that come to be?
Well, I'm the restaurant guy in the family. You know, I started cooking when my mother, she taught me how to cook bacon first, so she didn't have to do it. So, because when, breakfast at our house was a big deal, and, on the weekends, we cooked a lot of bacon. And so I was over the stove all day cooking bacon, it seemed like. And then you get to eat the bacon before everybody else does.
And
too.
saving the bacon fat, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. And then I progressed. I worked at the corner diner, Parker's, and I learned from a guy named Fred White, and he taught me originally how to cook. And I worked for different places. I went to New York to go to the Culinary Institute, but instead I ran into this French guy, Eric Peugeot, who had a restaurant on Shelter Island in Long Island, a 2-star restaurant from the New York Times. And he said, "Oh, Andy, you don't have to go to the school. I will teach you everything." And that's how I really got working hard in the restaurant business. And I went to New York and worked for a place called Mortimer's, and I was there for 9 years. The rudest restaurant in America, according to Forbes magazine, about 2 years in a row. Yeah.
2 years in a row. Yeah. And then you brought that talent into here.
Yes.
Fantastic. It's a lot of family oriented. It started there. Bacon.
Yeah, it was.
My grandfather.
I figured, we could do this.
My grandfather, one of the words of wisdom I got from my grandfather was never fry bacon naked. Right? I mean, I thought he was a cook all through his life, and that kind of came through.
Well,
I thought
that's true. My mother said, "Don't ever leave the room when you're cooking bacon."
Don't ever leave the room cooking bacon, or don't leave the room naked.
No, when you're cooking bacon.
When you're cooking bacon.
Bill, are you going to do the imitation? One of my sisters-in-law was making bacon one morning. It was cooking way too quickly, and Andy appeared and said, "Hey, sweetheart, didn't anybody ever tell you cook bacon over medium heat?" And her family repeats this to this day. It's 40 years ago. It's still like, "Hey, sweetheart." But I think we should acknowledge just how difficult it is to repeat as the rudest restaurant in the world. To win 2 years in a row, that's really an accomplishment.
That is fantastic.
And
that's quite an honor.
Andy was a part of that.
Right.
Well, the owner was.
The owner was a man who was, you'd have to say, almost universally hated. And when
2 years in a row, it got some out of it.
And when he died upstairs of the apartment, the staff only told each other, and then they went down to the wine cellar.
And they took all the wine.
They took all the wine and drank all the wine. They just robbed him
And
blind.
it was a great wine cellar.
It was a great wine cellar, and they didn't notify the hospital or the police
or his lawyer
until
everything was
cleared out.
That's hilarious.
He was a rude, horrible man.
Well,
who we will meet in hell one day.
Yes. Sitting here with Andre Reed, probably one of the greatest receivers of all time, Buffalo Bills, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome to the Savvy Investor. So, what's the best meal you remember from Mom growing up?
Peanut butter and jelly sandwich, man.
Yeah? Crust or no crust?
Crust. I was a crust guy.
Crust good? Okay.
And used to actually eat the peanut butter. Y'all remember the peanut butter and the marshmallow?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Marshmallow cream or?
Marshmallow, yeah.
Okay. World's best-selling classical artist, Andrea Bocelli.
you've come such a long way. You were an attorney. I'm an attorney as well, which I thought was really cool to see. But your memories of childhood, mom growing up in the kitchen, what was that like? I mean, what's your favorite meal that you can remember growing up with?
I'm Italian, and the food I love more is the pasta.
Pasta?
Pasta. I remember when I recorded an album with David Foster, and at noon, when it was exactly noon, every day I said, pasta time.
Pasta time.
So, stop for now.
And Mom, is that a traditional Italian dish, Sunday dish, pasta? But there was...
No. In Italy, we have two main moments for the table, no? The lunch and the dinner.
Joined today by Marshal Faulk. And Marshal, thank you first for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
If you could go back and have any meal that Mom cooked for you, what do you think it would be?
I'm a red beans and rice and fried chicken.
Red beans and rice?
That was you didn't even have to ask my mom if I said, Mom, cook something, she knew what to cook. It was
red beans and rice. Red beans and rice. Yeah. I'm sitting here with Rod Woodson. We all know him as a longtime Steeler. He played for the Raiders for a little while. Obviously, we here in Baltimore love him because he helped us win that Super Bowl there. So nice ring there. Thinking back to that meal that you grew up with, that grandma made for you, the grandmother or your mom, that dish, that thing that put the smile to your face. If she was cooking for you tonight, what would that meal be?
Well, we didn't have a lot of money, so we were eating smelt and sardines and all that stuff. But I'm trying to think like one meal that if we had to, probably smothered pork chops.
Yeah, pan-fried, smothered with gravy.
With gravy. And
some mashed potatoes?
Mashed potatoes and some steamed rice.
Yeah.
And maybe some collard greens on the side with some yams smacking somewhere around there.
Pro Football Hall of Famer Tim Brown.
My mom is fortunately still with me, and so I mean, I could have that meal Monday if I wanted. If I text her today and say this is what I need, it'll be there. But when my dad passed away about 7 years ago, also, but about 25 years before that, he was diagnosed as being pre-diabetes, or whatever that may be.
Right.
And she immediately went from soul food cooking to cooking
health food, right?
Yeah, and it was amazing, right? And she did that, to preserve his life, and
for 25 years, evidently,
and she did it,
right?
And but if you want her to throw down, if you want her to put her toe in it, she can still put her toe in it, but it would be fried chicken, red beans and rice. You know what I mean? Macaroni and cheese.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the staples.
Yes,
all the staples of childhood.
Yes. And some greens, please.
Okay.
Can I have some greens?
Wonderful.
Please? Thank you.
Enjoying the Super Bowl weekend, sitting here with one of the top offensive linemen.
Get
that out right.
There you go.
Orlando Pace, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Your fondest memory of what mom or grandma cooked for you? Dinner, Sunday dinner, sitting around with the family?
Man, let me say this. And maybe my grandmother probably was the all-time best cook. Her banana pudding was legendary. And I still try to make it to this day.
She give you the recipe?
Yeah, but she was an older lady, so they don't measure, right? So when she's giving me the recipe, it's like a pinch it here, you got to pinch it there, and she never measures. So that's the difficult part, because I like to measure to make sure it tastes exactly the same every time. So I think I'm perfecting. At least my kids say I'm perfecting it.
Well, and plus, grandma's TLC, you can't beat that.
Oh, and then the love that you put in it, you can't beat that.
All right, I have the honor of sitting here with Matt Barnes. I'm going to say kind of an enforcer, journeyman, and about 15 years in the NBA?
15 years, yeah. Had a good run.
Think it back to your childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grandma, mom making dinner on that Sunday night. What's your meal that you missed? The one if you could have today, if you could have that dinner today, what would it be?
I lost my mom in 2007 to cancer, so rest in peace. But I'm Italian and black, but my mom is straight Italian, so she always used to make lasagna from scratch.
Yeah.
So my sister's picked up the recipe. She's passed it on to me, so I do it every once in a while. But that lasagna from scratch, French bread, salad, just traditional classic Italian dinner is the one that comes right as soon as you said that. It's the first thing that popped in my mind.
Thank you for listening to the Celebrity Feast with Mike Canet, powered by ProStatus Financial.
All right, so there you go, the special Celebrity Feast podcast. So which was your favorite?
All of them always brought a smile to my face because you could just see, again, the emotion of them with that recollection.
Yeah, you can see the eyes lighting up.
Yeah, they do. Because, again, they get the same questions over and over again. And really, Eddie George, I mean...
Well, you guys are tight. You guys are buds.
Yeah. But when I started talking to him about this, I mean... he literally teared up. And I mean, he just got so emotional. And I mean, we think about it, Franks and Beans, but the memory that it brought back for him, that emotional connection that he had to what that meal was for him and his family. I mean, it really did make you choke up. You know, it was just an incredible experience with him.
All right, so the guy that put all this together.
Yeah, there we
Brett
go.
Barney.
There we go.
Thank you.
You got a sitting ovation from Mike Canet, man. That's awesome.
I have to say, out of all of them, because, you know, you listen to something like this, then you start thinking, you know, what reminds me of Mom? And Orlando Pace, his mom or grandmother story was specifically like touched me, because he says Mom's recipe was just, you know, a pinch of this or this. It's not really measured out. And that's how my mom always cooks. So I can't really recreate anything she's ever done because I don't know exactly what to do.
Well, and Orlando also, I mean, we were talking about that, the love that mom or grandma put into that meal. I mean, you could taste that. I mean, it's really something that you can feel in the meal, and it makes a difference. I mean, like when you go to a regular restaurant, you could tell when the chefs are truly passionate about the meal they're putting together, and you could tell when a person's just throwing slop on a plate.
Right.
You know, I mean, you can feel the difference when you're eating. You could taste the difference. You could smell the difference in the food when that true passion is coming through.
All right, so we put this out for obviously the Thanksgiving holiday and the holiday season, but it's going to live in podcast form forever.
Yes.
So for our podcast listeners right now, you're going to cook for them if they reach out to you?
Absolutely. You know, here's the deal. Here's what I will do for them. Here's what I will do for them. If they reach out to me, I will send them a video if they want it. I will teach them how to deconstruct a turkey, sous vide the turkey. It'll be the most tender, delicious turkey they've ever had. And then I will teach them how to use the carcass, the leftover part of the turkey, to actually make the best roux, right? Because you have to have roux to thicken the gravy, and the best stock, the most rich stock they've ever had, just by deconstructing that turkey. And it is every year. I've been doing this for a generation now, and I get raves about the gravy every single time and how tender that turkey is. You know what? If you call just because you heard this, I will teach you how to do it.
All right, so let me give our listeners that number, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, or you can always go online to the SavvyInvestorRadio.com, SavvyInvestorRadio.com, and reach out to Mike.
Now, Michael, I got to tell you, when they call, because Dawn's going to talk to them, right? And
she's not going to know what
she's going to be. What do you mean turkey recipe?
About?
What are you talking about turkey recipe? But yeah, absolutely. If you call, I will teach you how to deconstruct a turkey, and it's going to produce the best gravy you've ever had in your life.
A couple of things I know about Mike Canet. You love to help people retire. You love to help them retire well, save on taxes and all that stuff, and that's tremendous. You also love wine. You're a wine connoisseur. You love to garden, and what we're talking about here in this podcast is cooking.
Well, and
that's a passion of yours.
But it all revolves around what all these guys were talking about. It all revolves around the family and the community, right? I mean, cooking for yourself is not the same as cooking for friends and family.
Yep.
You know, having a glass of wine by itself, I don't do that because there's no joy in just having a glass of wine. The glass of wine always is better when you share it with somebody else. You know, I do a lot of traveling, and my wife and I will sit in a restaurant, in a strange bar someplace or a strange restaurant someplace, and we will share a bottle of wine with somebody else. And that's how you become a community.
I've seen you do this before, by the way.
Yeah, that's how you become a community. Yep. You just meet people. Yeah, that's right. Super Bowl. That was funny, wasn't it? But anyway,
that's another podcast.
But that's how you become a community. That's how you share those histories and families and stories together. There's nothing better than sharing those over, you know, an incredible meal. An incredible meal can never be everything from, I mean, just a hamburger with maybe onion jam and some cheddar cheese on it to, you know, foie gras or an incredible beef Wellington. I mean, you can go anywhere with it. It doesn't have to be a fancy meal. It really can be, you know, just potato hash for breakfast one morning.
You know, the interesting thing is, as we wrap up this podcast, the same passion that you bring to cooking and really everything and anything you do, because I know you, and we've known each other for a long time, you really bring that also to retirement planning. And this is not a plug. This is not what that is. I see that in you, and I see the joy that it gives you to help people in whatever regard it is, whether feeding them, treating them to a nice glass of wine, or helping them retire. And that's a big deal. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And Brett, man, you're always going to be on the call of duty to make this show sound as good as it does, because as beautiful and brilliant as I am, I just fumble through the show all day long. So Brett, I know you clean that up for me each and every week when we do the radio, when we do the podcast, and heck, even when we're doing our TV shows. But I got to tell you, this was such a special gift for me. I really, really appreciate you going beyond the call, because this was a very cool experience for me too.
Hey, without you in this question, I never would have had the idea. So this is a team effort in my eyes.
Well, thank you very much, dude.
Hey, thanks again for listening to the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast. And be sure to take Mike up on that offer. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you for listening to the Savvy Investor radio podcast, brought to you by ProStatus Financial. For more info on Mike and Ryan, to schedule a consultation, find an upcoming workshop, or radio times, go to thesavvyinvestortv.com.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.